Thank you. It's been a great morning, right?
Yeah.
My goodness, it's 12 o'clock. I'm getting hungry, so I better finish real quick. You know, when Ryan started with this whole thing, I'm hoping you got the recurring theme, and that is, it's all in, right? Whatever what we do, and I'm going to speak from the product perspective side of things, I've always been all in. It's always been all in. Science, at the end of the day, despite it's rather is a boring discipline, it's about, if you do science, it is about being all in. The data that we need and so on, and sort of, you know, Steve had alluded to the fact that we tend not to launch every product because the science tells us that a particular product candidate is just not going to work. Which then leads me to another conclusion. And it's what we're doing when Steve asked me the question, is about the people, and the products are great and so on. Why are they great? They're great is because they deliver a benefit. Yeah. Right? Your business, fundamentally, if we deliver a product that's going to look really good, but it doesn't do anything, whether it's on the beauty side or whether it's on the wellness side, I just don't think that product is going to work for you. In any aspect, whether it's on the business side or whether it's for your customers deriving a benefit, it's not going to work. Going back to what Ryan said this morning, right? One of his slides says Project Ocean. And I'm going to talk about this particular project. Why did we choose the name Ocean? And in the States, we tend to use this rather common phrase, if you will. We call it, we cannot boil the ocean. What does that mean? Because there are quite a few non-English speaking folks here. In other words, we say the ocean is just too big. It's impossible to boil the ocean. And so that's something that cannot be done. In this instance, actually within New Skin, and for all the things we've done over the last 40 years or so, the reason why we call this Project Ocean, because I think we finally managed to boil the ocean. On this particular project, okay? So we're going to change the name, and we're going to sort of talk about the formal name in a minute. So, I'm all in, has always been all in. It's always been great. But there's one thing I'll leave to the very end to tell you about, that maybe I can't do it. All right. You've heard about the success quality process. We've always talked, whenever we get a boring scientist coming on stage to talk about a new product and so on, we tell you how great that product is because it's effective. It's part and parcel. We tend to emphasize that particular S in the 6S process, and that is this product did. I already just did a couple of minutes ago to tell you our products work. They have to. They deliver a benefit. It's almost like a given. However, in this Project Ocean, what we find from our surveys and from the studies and whatever, whenever we ask people, it seems to come down to the fact that the first thing they look for is safety. When you talk about cognition, or whether you're doing something or deliver a product to the brain. Safety, which has always been part of the success process, and we perhaps should emphasize it equally, like we do for the effectiveness side, because we always say it's effective. Perhaps now, with this particular project, you have the ability to emphasize the safety aspect. In other words, in Project Ocean, all the products are safe and effective. Because that's what consumers want, right? And that's what your customers will be looking for whenever we talk about these products. So, the success quality process has always included safety. Perhaps it's something that we can emphasize now even more. So this safety is the number one concern when we talk about cognition. However, there's one thing that we can't do. Here are the 4 elements when we talk about mental wellness, right? And the reason why I have placed these particular 4 benefits in a particular circular motion rather than in a linear process is because they're all interconnected. If you can't sleep, you can't focus. And when you can't focus, you tend to not remember things so well. And then if you don't, you stress yourself out again. And when you stress yourself, you can't go to sleep. That's a discussion I always have with Ping, my wife. And I'm always the cause of the stress, but however, that's another matter altogether. So, it's so much interrelated. Our insight, our breakthrough, if you will, our ability to boil the ocean in this category was based on this insight. And that is, we cannot launch just a single product when we announce this particular category. Ryan has already alluded and hinted at the fact it was actually could be a potential for a brand new division. That idea in and of itself came from this particular insight. We had discovered a breakthrough. We don't copy. In Nu Skin, we never do. Right? Great mental wellness is a great category. Everybody seems to have a product in this category because it's huge. Steve has shared a lot of data with you along those lines, right? But for us, we have to disrupt it. And we can't disrupt this category if we don't have something particularly unique and particularly sort of effective. And that's why we are launching these 4 products. In fact, there are 2 more from the personal care side. Again, emphasizing, right? We put up this statement that says, we are the world's leading integrated beauty and wellness. How on earth did we come up with that? How on earth? Ryan gave you a really good basis for that particular phrase, and that's because over the years we have developed, and the revenue substantiates it, and that is to have an equally robust skincare line coupled to an equally robust wellness line. Which company has that? None, I think, as far as to the best of my knowledge, to be able to do that. They're either good in one and not the other. So all these are coming together for us, and therefore in this particular category as well, we're taking a holistic approach, where in fact, together with these are obviously somewhat related to the nutrition supplement side of things. We have 2 other products that will come out that will actually stimulate your, oh my goodness, I shouldn't use this, your olfactory system. This is too technical. In other words, you're going to smell something good. Right? Because all of us, from the scientific, from my scientific knowledge anyway, our nose, when has developed, and if it detects something smelly, you run away. But it is almost a defense mechanism. But you smell something good, your brain will proactively derive a benefit out of that smell sense. So we have included that. That's a unique aspect. Nobody has done this holistic approach together. It's a powerful, one-of-a-kind, and when we launch it, once again, I think you will find they all interact together. But you notice there's one thing. We have not gotten yet. If you're stupid, I can't help you. Bill, I've always said that, right? Is to say, you're stupid, I don't know, it's not like Bill Toth. Go talk to Bill Toth. He always reminds me that I've said that. I think now that we finally sort of created this category, it remains a truism for me. If you're stupid, you're going to stay stupid. So not much I can do about that. But nonetheless, maybe one day we can. So how can Nu Skin help? So I've mentioned to you, if you don't have up to this point not really remember that holistic approach is a unique, differentiated approach. And now, here's the formal name of this category. It's Mind 360. Four categories, all completely covered and effectively sort of addressed by the supplements and other 2 personal care products we're launching together with these 4 supplements, and it will address those important benefits. And together, I believe, we have created a mind-blowing category. Okay. So the first one, just to give you, I have to talk about the science, right? Everybody says I'm a scientist, but I'm not quite sure now. But nonetheless, I will show you this kind of data to impress on you, these clinical studies. They do demonstrate they are effective, right? So this really, without going through really all the data, it really shows the blue columns are the columns that show you after you take the product, for this particular sleep product, it actually improves your sleep patterns. Here's the uniqueness. I can get you, and many companies do that, give you a product that can help you sleep. But the problem is, when you sleep with that particular product, the quality of the sleep is not good. Our product protects the quality of the sleep. Okay? You don't wake up drowsy. You wake up refreshed. That's what we want from our sleep. That's what the science of sleep tells us, that there are different types of sleep if you don't create. Even though you could sleep 8 hours, but if you don't create the perfect type of sleep, you're not going to wake up refreshed. We can do that with this particular sleep product. Right? Memory, same thing. Very significant improvement in your memory after taking this memory supplement. And once again, these clinical studies, why don't we spend money and invest in these type of clinical studies? They're not cheap. They're 6 figures at the very minimum. Right? They're not cheap. To do a really, truly effective clinical, properly designed clinical study, they're expensive. But that's the only way I know how to be all in. Science is not a discipline that you just talk. Science is something that you have to do. And in order to do that, you have to invest. How many companies can really commit to that and be all in on that particular promise? So these are the clinical studies, and that's why it's important for me to sort of at least demonstrate the outcome of these clinical studies. So here's the stress. I've already mentioned. Very dramatic improvement in terms of reduction in stress after taking the stress product. And we've coupled this. It's great, right? And I can sort of objectively show you the data, but notice I've also shown you some data when we ask the individual, because this is something to do with your brain. It's important to know what that particular subject feels after taking a particular product. And once again, what they were responding with very, very good positive results. You would know, I think Steve showed you that butt chart, right? So, and they were going into the future, and we have now created a brand new category. And again, if you have not fallen asleep that you shouldn't have so early in the morning, Ryan has also alluded to the future, and that is with the Helix project. Right or wrong? All our translators at the back in Chinese, Korean, or whatever, did you translate well what Ryan said about Helix? I know the Chinese character you used, you sucked. You did not use the right Chinese character. Right? You referred to something else. Charlene told me it's really the wrong character. Hopefully it's been changed. Helix refers to the structure of the DNA. Correct? Steve showed you that wavy-looking molecule. That's a helix. You should use that when you go to cocktail parties, or maybe during the welcome party in Dubai. Start walking around, talk about helix. It's a fancy word. You've learned a new one. You have finally come to Dubai not just to enjoy yourself. You learn a new word. So anyway, so the peak in the future would be this. We have always built upon a technology. We've always, ever since the inception of Nu Skin, right, has created all of the good, none of the bad. It was the same, but it was actually more of a mindset. I can almost call it a technology, because there was a lot of efforts going in, looking at that point in time 40 years ago. We don't put bad ingredients, whatever they were, into our products. We created LifePad. We created all the wonderful personal care products and so on. And then Pharmanex came in 1998, and we just went on and said, great, that is a wonderful approach to use in product development, and we just added more science to it. And therefore, we created that success process, right? Now we can explain it, because now science has evolved in such a manner that we can describe it in more scientific terms. That's all. Still the same kind of approach and insight. And then, with ageLOC, you know ageLOC is over $10 billion since we launched it as a brand, okay? So, and it's all about understanding the body better. How? We understand the body better? We just go to the source of aging. We go and look at those genes, right? After all, Levi managed to create a wonderful apparel company called Genes. So we just went and did the biology version. So, and we look at genes and we see how they behave, and we manage through our collaboration with a company like LifeGen, and we discovered there are certain classes of genes that are very much associated in how you're going to age. Either you're going to age well, or you're going to accelerate aging. So we managed to influence that with a whole bunch of age-lock products. That is, if you look back on the history, you should be able to see the beginnings of the integration, okay, the bridging of personal care product development together with wellness product development. Because the genes were shared, they were all over. They were in skin cells, they were in heart cells, they were in lung cells, and so on and so on. So we just use that as our bridging mechanism. The narrative, with a little bit of adjustment on it, is consistent. Whether you're talking about a skincare product or whether you're talking about a nutritional supplement product. It's great. That was the beginning. That was our springboard, if you will. And now we have reached the culmination of that idea and its insight. That's why, we have the data. We have the substantiation, if you will, to call ourselves the world's leading integrated beauty and wellness company. Right. So, and now, with the launch of with Mind, that's what. If you counted, Steve gave you 4 doors. Mine is now the 5th door. Remember, I think, and I would jump a little bit here, and when Steve talks about choices, right, this is just a choice. It's the flexibility. Nu Skin is a company that offers flexibility. It's not a one-trick pony. Many of the elements are obviously fundamental or cornerstones of the company, but there's flexibility for everybody. There is no conflict. There doesn't need to be any conflict among the entry into the world of Nu Skin through any of those doors. We've created a 5th door for you. It's a wonderful, all the aspects and all the features of this particular door are very attractive to be able to create a business opportunity. So with Project Helix, this is what we have, right? I've mentioned the genes play a fundamental role in every aspect of wellness and beauty that we wish to look at, right? We're now able, through this Project Helix, we'll be able to tell you or give you a genetic profile that will help to drive you to a particular, interest, or you should have an interest for a particular set of products or groups of products. That's what we've learned. The genes are going to help us, right? Ryan had talked to you about rice, and there was my question, hey, wait a minute, what is this little thing called rice? I look upon rice, if you will, if you can. Ryan used the word innovation engine. This is a very classic approach for any company that wants to stay relevant and current going forward. It's our incubator. We incubate things there, right? So because it's a good area, it does not have to be encumbered by what we are already doing in our core business. We incubate it until it reaches a level where it's either fully mature or has all the aspects that we need to introduce it into the core business. That's what we have. At this point in time, Project Helix, over the next 12 to 24 months or so, we are beginning to see, we are ready to hatch it. And when we hatch it, then hopefully, I'm hoping more than hope, that you will see that's the contribution of rice to the core business. It's the incubator. And there are many, many other things we are incubating currently, and we'll see. It's going to be driven by data. Some of it will work, some of it won't. It's okay. Nobody's going to bat 1,000. Even Sohei Ohtani ain't going to bat 1,000. So that's what rice we have, and that's what Project Helix. So we are understanding the nature, and this is your classic paradigm nowadays, right? Is that your nature will always be nurtured by your environment, right? On the business side, Ryan has used the word ecosystem to describe what we're doing on the business elements. On the science side, that's a word that we use all the time, ecosystem. And that is about nurturing our nature. And Helix is the nature stuff, and all the things we're doing will also bring some of the nurturing aspects into it, and will finally manifest itself in this what we currently call the Project Helix, right? And that's the combination. There's no competition. You know, people like to sort of divide things into black and white. I think the science is telling us, or the research would tell us, there's no such thing. They blur. You know, and that's why even the genes are at a stage where the environment affects their activity and so on. So it's nurturing, and it's about nurturing your nature. So that's what we have. So hopefully, you know, from the product perspective side, you're seeing there is a great fit. The product, the strategy fits together. There is method to our madness. And I would personally sometimes say that maybe when we launch a product, we don't give you enough of the perspective and how it relates to all the things that we do. And perhaps you might be thinking they're actually being launched in silos. They're not. They do fit. But occasionally, it can be difficult to see how they fit. Hopefully now you have the backdrop now. So now you can see how we are progressing, how that innovation engine drives things forward, right? You don't want an engine that puts the car to drive it in circles, then you're going nowhere. You're hoping with this particular description and explanation, you can see that it's always going in a linear forward manner. And mine is our next step to drive us forward. So, I think at this point in time, I think I will hand it back to Steve Patrick. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, hand it back to Ryan. We have 6 doors. Personally, I like to call them gateways. You come in and you enter the wonderful world of Nu Skin. Thank you.
All right, Joe. I'll take the clicker. Fantastic. So did Joe blow your mind?